Thank you so much, Mr. Sperling. We are so grateful you could be with us today and speak directly to the Head Start community about the administration's priority and share all of this important information on this partnership. We so appreciate you and your time. Well, for those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Malkia Peyton Jackson. I am the Director of Alumni Engagement here at NHSA and a proud Head Start alumna. I have something in common with our next speaker, Dr. Nolana Nobles. Not only was Dr. Nobles a Head Start child, just as I was and many of you, Head Start is also her career. Dr. Nobles is the Director of Early Childhood Programs at Capital Community Services in East Lansing, Michigan. Prior to stepping into this role, Dr. Nobles was the Assistant Director for Children's Services for 9 years at Matrix Human Services Head Start in Detroit, Michigan. Dr. Nobles is passionate about early education and creating sustainable systems that bring out the best in Head Start staff, family, and providers. Her unique blend of personal and professional experiences, growing up as a Head Start student, being inspired early by the power of education, and being an active Head Start parent, led her to be the first member in her family to earn a doctoral degree. Dr. Nobles has served in many leadership roles through her Head Start journey, including 2 appointments on the Michigan Interagency Coordinating Council as a Head Start representative, and she's currently on the executive committee for the Michigan Head Start Association. Dr. Nobles earned a PhD in international psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, focusing on organizational system design. And she holds a master's degree in leadership of educational organizations from the American Intercontinental University. She's honored to continue to inspire leadership skills in people, be they toddlers or teachers. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome and introduce Dr. Nolana Nobles.
Thank you, Malkia, for that wonderful introduction. Hi, everybody. I am so pleased to be here with you today and share my story. As you can see, I'm kind of in the virtual office that I made for myself. I hope you guys like it and it's pleasant for this little experience. I'm going to share my screen because I have made a PowerPoint to tell this story since it's a virtual experience. Bear with me, guys, okay? And share. I'm sorry. There we go, from beginning. All right, can you all see that? Wonderful. Okay. Hi again, I'm Nolana, and I'm going to tell you a little story that I call Follow the Leader, a Head Start success story. Um, you'll see a lot of green in this presentation because it's my favorite color. And I was asked that in preschool, what's my favorite color? And it hasn't changed. You know, as you mature, you seem to have changes in your life, but for some reason, green has always been near and dear to my heart. So here we go. This is a story about a family, starting with my mother here. That's Doris Harden, and her father, Everett Johnson, who we affectionately called Big Daddy. When my mother was 17 years old, she got married, and by the time she was 18, I was here. Everybody was really happy. We have a big, loving family, and my grandfather at the particular time was overjoyed. That's not me in the picture. I'll tell you who that baby is a little later. But my grandfather was the leader of our family. He had 10 children, most of them daughters, and he's a real big education advocate. 2 things he was just really an advocate for, and that is being a righteous person and being a good citizen and education. He was a sharecropper. And by the time my mother was born, he was able to move his family from Oklahoma to a little up and coming city called Midland, Texas. And my mother didn't want for anything. And as you can see, she was very happy. So, as time would have it, my parents had me, and when I was born, my grandparents thought it was a great idea that my father, who wanted to study at a trade school in Arizona, be able to do so, and then they thought it would be a good idea for my mother to remain back with them and rear me in the comfort of our big family. With a loving family and culturally, education at home was just what we did. My big mama, Lulabelle Johnson, everybody would say, cultural, I'll use a lot of cultural words here. Big Mama was our first teacher. She was all of her daughters and her children's first teachers, and she taught everybody how to cook and garden and to just explore life and use the resources around to the best of your ability. So everything was on track. But by my second birthday, this is me at my grandmother's table, having my second birthday. I know it's a grainy picture, but it's old. It's back in those Polaroid days. That's me standing at the table while everybody's singing happy birthday to me. And so all was well until it wasn't. And before I turned 3 years old, my grandmother, Big Mama, suddenly passed away. As they say in my family, she retired from her earthly duties. So everything was kind of like, what do we do now? My father was at school. My grandfather is now here with his young daughter, who's a mother, and he had relied so heavily on his wife to always be the one to teach the daughters how to rear their first child, all the things that they needed to know. And one day, somebody came knocking on the door, and it was somebody from Head Start. And this person began to enthusiastically tell my grandfather about Head Start and what Head Start could do to help our family achieve our goals. My mother listened in, and right away, everybody thought this is a good idea. So I was enrolled in Head Start. So what you see here is me, my little Head Start self. That's me in the green jumpsuit right there. And that little person to my right, that's my sister. You'll hear a little bit more about her too. She's always on my right. She's my right hand. And that copy is really old, but I hope you can see my little name on there. My mother kept my Head Start certificate. That is actually my Head Start certificate. All right, so that's me and my sister Angela. So all was well. My parents' life went well. My parents ended up having 4 children. That's the 4 of us. And I was always, as our family would have it, the eldest person or the elder sibling is responsible for teaching and being a good example to the other siblings. That's how our family works. So that's me. I'm 17 there, y'all. Look at that hairstyle. Guess what year it was? No, don't guess. But anyway, that's me, 17, with my siblings. And on the other side, that's us again at my sister Angela, the one in the first picture's wedding. In the middle is a book by Sandy Damashek, which I got when I was like 9 years old. Because at Head Start, the teachers, the school had a partnership with PBS, as we continue to do today. And I remember seeing lots of PBS books in the classrooms. So when I was 9, I got to go to my first book fair, and I saw this book, like 19 years old. And I saw this book, so I immediately bought it, and I brought it home because I was the big sister. And I began to read this book all the time to my siblings. And it's one of those interactive books where it encourages kids to explore and go here and go there, go up, go down. If you don't know about it, read a book. I encourage anyone to grab this book because it has been instrumental to my life and the way we live it, the way I lead. All right, so, well, life is going well for me. That's me again. I get married. I do great in high school. I make good grades. I get a scholarship. And all is well. And I have these 2 lovely little children, my daughter Erica, my son Gary there. And my grandfather here, Big Daddy, he was overjoyed. He used to spend a lot of time talking to his friends about me and how smart I was and the things I used to do in school. He'd talk about me going to Head Start all the way up to college. He was always bragging. Again, I'll remind you that he's a sharecropper. And he had dreams for all of his children to be successful and educated. So he was really thrilled when this little grandson came along so he could watch another child become a leader in our family. These 2 were inseparable. As you can see this first picture, she would wake him up every day just to be in his face with her little brother. She was much like I am, and she still is much like I am as a leader. And she was the first person to notice something was not right with her little brother. On this picture on the bottom, she looked at me and said, "Mommy, why him cry like that all the time?" I had no idea. Gary was prone to, up to age 5 months, to just burst into these tears, like he would just scream like he was agonizing pain. And it was sporadic, and people in the family, in the community, in the church would say, "Oh, it's colic." You know, they would tell me, "Oh, it's nothing." I'd take him to the doctor, and they said it's asthma. But she was so concerned that particular day, she would not stop crying. It was like her heart was wrenched. So we took him into the hospital at 5 months, and that was the day that I found out that my baby had a very serious heart condition called tetralogy of Fallot. It's a very complex heart condition that has about 4 errors in it, which is why it's tetralogy. And so what happens is the blood is not flowing. If you look from the pictures where the purple is, the blood is mixing and the child is unable to get proper oxygenated blood, and it's life-threatening. I lived in a small town, Odessa, Texas. Some of you may know it from Friday Night Lights, the movie, the TV show, but that's where it was. And we weren't near a major hospital center. And that day they put us in a helicopter and flew us out for this child to have emergency surgery. So while we were there, they told me that, this is major surgery, and the option that I had elected, which was a very massive one-time surgery, was new, and that Gary's prognosis to live to be 1 year was unknown. I was raised with faith, as I told you. My grandfather had instilled that in us all, and I said it'll be okay. And when that first year came along, oh my gosh, guys, that's me in the bottom. That's me crying because I was so happy that my baby made it to 1 year. But I remember something that the lady said when they were putting us back on the helicopter, which was one of the social workers, and she would said it right before I exit. She asked if I needed anything, and I told her, what my resources were. And she said, well, when you get back to Odessa, put him in Head Start. He's probably going to have some gross motor delays and probably some other things. This was a very massive surgery. So if you need anything, go to Head Start and stay in close contact with your children's hospital in the local vicinity area, which is what I did because I already trusted Head Start. I already had a history with Head Start. My mother and my family trusted Head Start. I was going to do the same. So Gary was promptly enrolled in Head Start. And once he got there, Head Start was his life. He initially started off really shy. And I remember one day the bus came to get him. It was a rural place. The bus came to get him, and he just had a whole preschool fit. He didn't want to get on the bus. The bus was noisy. And the bus driver came down and tried to coax him on. And my husband got on the bus with him for a few times. And it ended up that my husband fell in love with the transportation department and got a job with Head Start in transportation in that town. Anyway, Head Start was his life. I became an active parent volunteer. I wanted to learn everything that I could about child development, particularly the things that influenced my child, and know what he needed in terms of his health issues. So, of course, in true Head Start fashion, the health team, nutrition team, educators, everybody was there for me and welcomed my my input and my volunteerism. For us, Head Start was our whole family. This little boy really thought all these kids were his siblings. And so you see him down here just smiling away. All right, so Gary goes on and he goes to kindergarten like all kids would. And this is his very first report card. Yes, I keep everything. I absolutely keep everything. And you may not be able to see everything on it, but I have the arrow there because I was wondering, how is my little boy going to do in kindergarten? What's going to be like? And when he got his first report card, the teacher wrote, Gary is off to a great start. My heart soared. I thought about Head Start and I was like, yes, he's going to do just fine. He's going to be great. So now, that's Gary. I think he was getting his first award in maybe second grade or so. He was so proud of himself. And we were asked to come and, be there for him to get this award. He was doing so well in school. And now he's a young man. And he is doing exactly what I would hoped he would be doing. They thought he would not live to be one, but he's a full-blown adult now, enjoying his life, confident in all of his abilities. You can find Gary on social media doing all kinds of great things, where his love of art was bolstered in preschool. He used to paint and draw. He's now applying all those arts, all those things that he loves in art to his real life. That is him on his latest post talking about something. But he also knows, and he talks to other people about his Head Start experience. So he's an advocate in his own right. All right. His sister, always there, still there. There they are in my grandparents, my grandmother's gardening hats when they were little, and there they are now. They still talk about how it's important for family to be very close and communicate and be concerned and share and be vocal. They're both advocates and inseparable also at this point in life. So that's part of the story. They're my next generation of leaders. So let's go back all the way back, and you saw that picture of me and my family. These two little girls in the middle. One was my sister Angela. She's the one with the kind of light blonde hair. Blonde hair. She has an identical twin. They're twins. They had their own Head Start experience. So my mother, right? She's raising 4 children, and when my sisters began to talk, they had a speech impediment, much like my father. My father also too, and it was immediately decided that they should be enrolled in Head Start to receive speech services. So they go to Head Start as well. And while they were there, we're doing the health screenings. My mother gets a notice that she should take the girls to the hospital because their lead is high. We had moved from our small town in Texas to Dallas to an apartment at that time. And, cities being what they are, we all know that lead has always been an issue in some of the major cities. So my mother was very alarmed. All things were done well, chelation therapy, things like that. But the girls, as you would anticipate, had some issues with this lead exposure. High school was tough, but they got through it. I love these little pictures because on the back of one of them it says, "Thank you, Big Sis, for encouraging me and making sure and telling me I could do it." For me, I felt like they were heroes from the day that they went in. They were two little twins who talked to each other in twin talk, and now they're out doing all kinds of great things, and you're going to hear about those great things in a moment. I can't. Okay. Uh-oh. How do I go back? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to go back. I can't go back. Can you help me, Malkia? Malkia, can you hear me?
I can, Dr. Nobles. I'll ask Lucy, our producer, if she's able to
I got
assist.
you. Okay, I think I got it. There we go. All right, so no, it went back. All right, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so thank you for that little interruption. All right, so my sister, one of the twins, not Angela, but the other one, she has a little girl named Cherish. That's the little girl in front of the Christmas tree. And all's going well. Everybody's doing well. And then while she's pregnant, my sister is told by the doctor that her baby inside is having seizures in the womb. Nobody knows what's going on. Eventually, a specialist says, well, after they scan, that she has a condition called tetralogy of Fallot. Hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain, and that's what's causing the seizures. But they had a plan. They said, well, when she's born, we're going to immediately do shunts. We're going to do all these different procedures. We're going to take care of your little girl. So my sister was fine. So Cherish had shunt replacements over and over again most of her life. But by the time she hit age 8, which is the picture where she is in the pink, she began to have massive seizures that were threatening her life, her oxygen to her brain, and she would be asleep. By the time she got that age, the doctor said, you might want to consider putting her on Make-A-Wish. This is not good. So my sister, would trust in me as the leader, and she know that I had navigated my own son's health crisis, came to me and asked for my opinion. And I said, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And she said, well, I want my baby to make her own wishes. I want her to have her own dreams and make them come true. I don't want to go to Make-A-Wish. I don't want to give up on my baby. And I said, well, don't. I said, trust them for whatever they need to do, and we'll figure it out. So she went for a second opinion, and the doctor said, well, we can do hemostectrophy, or they take out half the brain, and that'll stop the seizures. Well, she'll probably have some issues, some cognitive issues. My sister looked at me, I looked at her, all of us looked at each other, and she said, yes, let's do whatever it takes. I don't want my baby on Make-A-Wish. So my sister consented, and immediately, when they said that, I stopped what I was doing, and I took a job at Head Start in the disability content area. That's me in the middle with some little kids at a table, learning from them, and they're learning from me. But I knew that my sister was going to be relying on me to help her the same way that I supported my own son. My experience with Cherish and what my sister, the challenges that she was going through, the special ed process became near and dear to my heart. My job, I became a disability specialist in Head Start. That was what my career was. I became very passionate about parent advocacy. I'm still very passionate about parent advocacy, particularly in the domain of special education. And I ended up doing my very first National Head Start Conference in 2006, promoting parent advocacy. That's the cover of the manual that I gave out to teach parents on how to navigate the special aid process, how to be an advocate for their child. And I learned that from Head Start, being a part of the Head Start experience, being a parent there, being an employee there, and supporting my little niece, Cherish, there, that you see with me in the picture. So the leader in me was being built through my Head Start experience and my family's Head Start experience, going from my mother all the way to this point to my sister's child. And it wasn't just me. My sister Angela, the one that's always right, my right-hand man, when I was doing the special ed piece supporting my sister, she was always with her twin at all the doctor's appointments. And she was applying all the advocacy that I talked to them about in the medical arena. It inspired Angela so much, and she remembered her own experience having lead issues and having speech issues, that Angela, when she went to college, she got her Bachelor's of Science in Health Administration. So the three of us together, with our Head Start experience and our leadership being built at a very young age, we call ourselves a force to be reckoned with. We help everybody in our community that comes to us with children that may have any issues or parents that may have concerns in special ed, and we work together. And I'm so very proud of this family system melting itself together with the Head Start systems to these positive aims in our lives. And about Cherish, remember that statement my sister said about, I want my baby to make her own wishes and have her own dreams? Cherish finished high school, and she did well there. And that picture you see there is her and the twins, my sisters, at the election. She was so proud to vote and to know what she was doing. And they were concerned about her cognitive delays, but she knew what she wanted, and she wanted to be a part of the whole campaign. And that's her with her pearls, and that's one of her dreams. And it was a wish fulfilled for my sister. So that's what happened with my sisters on this Head Start journey. Together, they're a team. You know, sisters are always a team. To me, I call them the dream team, because they began to inspire something in me about the importance of teamwork. They started together. They learned how to work together, navigate together into the final aim of success. And that's just what our family has always been about. And then I began to see Head Start and my family mirroring each other. How Head Start is so respectful of family systems and dynamics. It's just a match made in heaven. Together, we're all doing what we do, though. We're happy. You see, that's us. My sister Modesty has a bunch of grandkids. And I told you that my grandfather was all about family and us teaching. So we're together. We have all the grandkids at like a play place, just running around with them, just like we used to do together, playing with the children and experiencing the little things that kids do together. So that was a picture. I don't know who took these pictures. I think my brother, of watching us still be us, even at our adult ages. What happened to me? Well, I literally became the poster child for Head Start. So you can see the pictures. That's me at the top, the picture you've come familiar with now. That's me in kindergarten with my teacher, Miss Canales. I still remember her name. That's me in high school, and that's me in college. And I remember that there was, when I was working at Matrix, there was a campaign. We were talking about, well, we need to talk about how Head Start helps the whole family. And it's not just kindergarten readiness. It's school readiness. It's ready for education at large. And they were looking for volunteers. I quickly raised my hand. I said, I will do it. I have a story to tell. I'm ready to let everybody know how awesome Head Start is. So that was one of the things they used for the flyers at the time. I continued to advocate. Anybody that would listen about how awesome Head Start was, I was willing to tell them. So there's a clip of me on the morning news one day talking about Head Start and education and enticing and encouraging people to enroll. And there's my latest experience where I went on a panel to talk about the power of shared lived experiences, much like I'm doing right now with you all. There is power in sharing our experiences as alumni, right? We as leaders, we have a lot of power by sharing our stories. And this whole experience, I think Head Start influenced me in such a way that cultivating my natural learning, my natural ability or desire to learn, challenging me, it kept going all through my whole experience. And every time I came up on a challenge, I kind of did what the Head Start way taught me, which was find the resources to overcome it. I became so inspired by what I was doing that I was the first person in my family to become a doctor. My grandfather, his dreams were fulfilled. He talked so much about what he wanted for his family, coming from sharecropper to the present day. And he was so proud. He was so proud. As Malkia said, that I began to really just speak anywhere that they needed me to about Head Start. And whatever Head Start needed from me, I was there. And that led to my appointments at the Michigan Interagency Coordinating Council here in Lansing. One of the biggest things that ever happened to me besides this experience was the time that I was asked to go speak at the Michigan Head Start Association Fall Assembly about developing informed systems that work in Head Start, that integrate family systems and human motivation and their own people's own definitions of quality of life. And to me, I was so proud to be able to do that presentation at the Directors Assembly. So it is for me one of the pinnacles of my success, and I was really happy to show Head Start and my constituency and my peers what Head Start can produce, and to be an authority in our industry at that time. I felt like I had become a big girl in Head Start. Like my first picture. Now, whatever happened to this original mom in the story? That's my mom. What was she doing while I was getting married and getting educated and her children were getting married and raising kids? What was my mom doing, this first Head Start parent? Well, my mother was equally as inspired. She was that 17-year-old, that 18-year-old who had a baby and who was supported by her lovely family, her sisters, her father, and the Head Start family that joined in. She became the go-to mother in the neighborhood. Whenever there was a baby born, whenever someone had a child, they were coming down to Miss Doris's house, asking questions and learning how to do things, getting advice. And my mother was so inspired that she started her own early childhood center in Detroit, Michigan. She began to work with the state funds, and she made her home into a beautiful, she converted a part of her house to a child care center. Some of the babies in her center having a good time. I was so proud of my mom. I still am proud of my mother. She continued this work until she retired. This was the love of her life also, early childhood education. So final thoughts. One of my favorite writers is Florence Scovel Shinn. And she says, success is not a secret. It's a system. There are no truer words. Head Start is a system born of benevolence. We looked at poverty as a nation and said, let's do something about it. Our citizens, our children, our families, we deserve a chance at the American dream. And it wasn't just a stroke of the pen. It's a system. It's one that we're all participating in, that we continue to participate in. As we just heard, that we must advocate for and protect. As a beneficiary of the Head Start program, I am so honored and so grateful to spend this time sharing my story and spending time with you. It's a system that is like no other. To me, it borders on divinity. We are the most well-received, well-researched, and we fight for it, but well-funded early childhood programs. If there's going to be universal pre-K, I say they build it around Head Start. That's what I say. And I hope that you all will rally when the opportunity comes to advocate and to speak up about our beloved Head Start program. And as an individual working in the program, whatever your role may be, if you're a parent volunteer, bus driver, custodian, teacher, administrator, every time you touch a parent, every time you touch a child, you create an opportunity for leadership to emerge. It doesn't matter. You may think that that one little smile was just a little smile. It might have been the inspiration for someone going through a tough day. Every little thing we do in Head Start has the power to inspire. So I commend you all for the work, for being here, especially during this pandemic. We have an important job together. And as I said, it's such an honor to share my story about how I became a leader and how we created followers in our family. And I know that that's what you're doing where you are too, creating leaders. So with that, I say thank you again, and I will yield the floor to Miss Peyton Jackson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nobles. I have to keep my allergies under control. What a beautiful and inspiring story about the reverberating positive impact of Head Start. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for sharing your powerful story with us. Well, I know all of you were inspired. I looked at the chat. I see still the chat blowing up with all of your feedback on how inspired you were by Dr. Noble's story. What a great way to start our institute off. And our opening session is not over yet. We have another very special guest. What I love about FLI and WLI is that they give us the opportunity to zoom out big, looking at the big picture of Head Start. And remember that Head Start is bigger than each individual and each individual program, that we are a national program with a long and strong history. And so much so that the Secretary of Health and Human Services himself wanted to be a part of this event. Xavier Becerra is the 25th Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services and the first Latino to hold the office. Prior to his appointment as Secretary, Mr. Becerra served as the Attorney General of California. Before that, he served 12 terms as a member of the United States Congress from California. Throughout his career, Secretary Becerra has been a champion for children and families and a dedicated supporter of Head Start. It is my distinct pleasure to turn it over for remarks from the Secretary.
Executive Director Vinci, senior leaders from across the Head Start field, Head Start parents, and everyone involved with the National Head Start Association, I want to thank you for inviting me to take part in this year's NHSA Fall Leadership Institute. And Executive Director Vinci, it is good to see you again. I think it was just the other week you drilled down on the absolute need of an expanded trained workforce for our Head Start programs. I agree. I welcome all ideas today and always. So it's my honor to be here with you today and to thank you for your work on behalf of our children, our families, and our communities. Head Start programs prepare children from America's most vulnerable backgrounds to succeed in school and in life beyond. They deliver services to children, families, and communities in core areas of early learning, health, and family well-being, while engaging families as partners every step of the way. At the Department of Health and Human Services and throughout the Biden-Harris administration, your voice rings loud and clear because we believe that in order to build back better, we need to support our families, our children, and our early education workforce. And we are not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk. Back in June, we awarded $1 billion in American Rescue Plan funds to more than 1,600 Head Start programs across the country to support the return to full in-person services. This funding, thanks to President Biden and congressional partners, helped Head Start programs provide summer programming, support vaccinations, and serve more of the children and families most impacted by racial disparities and inequities that have persisted for far too long. Thanks to these resources, Head Start programs can also improve ventilation in existing facilities. They can enhance outdoor learning spaces and renovate spaces to make them appropriate for serving children. And this funding also makes it possible for Head Start staff to receive mental health support services and help getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Listen, we've heard your calls to expand Head Start to include beneficiaries of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. I have tasked my team to dig deeper into this. This is not a new idea, but if we're going to launch on something like this, we have to get it right. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda contains a universal pre-kindergarten program that will build on the progress that Head Start has made and allow more children and families to take advantage of early childhood programs across the nation. The agenda also calls for a national partnership between the federal government and the states to offer free, high-quality, accessible, and inclusive preschool to all 3 and 4-year-olds. Critically, it includes funds to support increased compensation for Head Start staff, a long overdue and much deserved change. This program could benefit as many as 5 million children and save the average family $13,000 in preschool costs. $13,000. 56 years ago, President Lyndon Johnson said that he believed that Head Start is one of the most constructive and one of the most sensible and also one of the most exciting programs that this nation has ever undertaken. That's his quote. Nearly 6 decades later, his words are as true as ever. I know everyone here at the 2021 National Head Start Fall Leadership Institute believes it. The Biden-Harris administration believes it too. Thank you again for your efforts on behalf of our kids, our families, and our communities. And let's build back better together. Thank you.